Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Deanna. I am the owner of Cerise Boutique as well as the Facebook group Tumbler Tutors. This week, love is in the air. It is officially Valentine's Day in the Tumbler community. Normally, I'm not a big fan of making holiday specific cups. I don't like the fact that you can only use them once a year. However, I really think that I picked a good one for you guys this week. It is a year-round tumbler and I had a lot of fun making it. It is absolutely beautiful. I really hope you guys enjoy it and try it out for yourself. As always, I will have all of the products that I'm using linked in the description down below, as well as some discount codes for you guys to enjoy. Let's get into it.
Okay, so today we're starting off with a Steel Magnolia 24-ounce Plump, spray painted in Vintage Blush Rustoleum spray paint. And I went ahead and mixed up about 5 mLs of CCDIY fast setting epoxy. That's 2.5 mLs of part A and 2.5 mLs of part B. This is the smallest amount that is recommended you mix together. We just need a tiny bit. We're going to pour some on our tumbler, and we're going to be doing the epoxy method to go ahead and place our glitter. Our goal with the epoxy method is to put such a small amount on just to use as an adhesive for our glitter to stick to the cup. You should be able to hang the cup upside down and the epoxy not drip off. We also want to make sure it's applied very smooth. So now I'm going in with Ope from Peachy Olive Glitters. This was a beautiful glitter mix by Rachel Harper from Mitten Made Crafts. It was included in the January Peachy palette. If you're not sure what a Peachy palette is, go ahead and check out the description down below. I went ahead and put some information about it. It's a really great way to build your glitter collection quickly. So I'm just making sure that I've got full coverage, making sure I don't forget the bottom, and look at how gorgeous this glitter is. It is perfect for what we're doing today. Next up, you already know, we are going to go ahead and flatten down those chunky pieces. I ran out of parchment paper, so don't be like me, get a full-size sheet, and we're just going to roll our tumbler in the parchment paper and rub down those chunky pieces. We are trying to minimize the amount of chunkies that are going to be sticking up when we epoxy. And don't forget that bottom edge. It is very important that we have a nice clean bottom edge because we are going to be spray painting over this eventually, and we want to minimize our sanding on that edge so that we don't sand through to our stainless steel or sand through our paint. Now that that's nice and cured, we're going to go in with 30 mLs of fast set epoxy from CCDIY. That is 15 mLs of part A, 15 mLs of part B, and we're just making sure that we get really good coverage. Then we're going in with our torch. I have this in real time just so you can see how quick I'm actually moving my torch, just not to burn my epoxy. And after about 30 minutes of curing, we're going back in with another 30 mLs of epoxy just as a flood coat. You'll notice that the layer underneath is really tacky still. It is not fully cured, but we are going in with another coat just to kind of smooth out a little bit more of those chunkies that popped up a little bit. I do want to put a disclaimer here that I only recommend putting a flood coat on if you know that your first coat is properly curing and your ratios weren't off. And then we're going to hit it with our torch one more time and let it fully cure. Now that she's fully cured and we admire how gorgeous this glitter is, we're going to take our hand sander. You can use a regular sandpaper and sanding block or just a sanding block and do this, but my chunkies were a little bit out of control, so I'm taking my hand sander because it's way less work on me, and I'm just making sure that I go around and get it nice and smooth. Now, I wanted to do this one in real time so that you can see me going around the edge and exposing that top part of our cup. I'm just kissing the edge of that rim with my sander to expose that stainless steel so that we can get a really nice seal with our epoxy on the side of the cup and not on the top edge of the cup. This is very important. We're going to make sure that we go down a little bit further than we normally would so that when we paint over it and we go to sand the next layer, you will not be able to see the glitter through that top edge. Now we never forget the butt. We're going to go through with a very, very light sand on those corners and making sure that we do get a good sand on the bottom, but very light on the corners. We go light with the hand sander on the corners because we go hard with our regular sandpaper on the corners. I just take the sandpaper in my hand and I cup it and I do a little twist. And that, my friends, is how you get a smooth booty. Next, I take some rubbing alcohol on a paper towel and I just wipe off all of that sanding dust. And then I'm going to go in and I am going to clean up that top edge. I take my X-Acto knife and I just take off any of that excess epoxy that was on top and clean my rim. Next up is our vinyl. I went ahead and found these files on Etsy. I have the links for them down below. I just imported them exactly as they were into Silhouette Studio and I sized them to what I thought was going to be really good for our cup, and I did not change anything else. I just cut them as is. So I went ahead and separated our X's and O's and I put some transfer tape on them, and I'm going to go ahead and peel that off, and then we are going to stick it on our tumbler. This is sized at about 6.5 inches by about 3 inches. I didn't really change too much about it. You'll see here that it covers almost the entire length of our cup with about a finger's width on each end. So now I'm just going to make sure that I rub it down really good just so that our paint does not seep underneath it and get where we don't want it to be. And I'm just going to go ahead and take off that transfer tape. It is on there. Now I'm going to go ahead and weed out the centers of our hearts so our paint gets in the middle there. Now for our hearts, I went ahead and cut these out in various sizes. Some of them are 1 inch, some of them are 2.5 inch, some of them are even smaller. And I'm just placing them kind of randomly around the rest of the cup. I realized that there's almost like 4 corners to the back of this cup, so I'm placing my bigger hearts in the corners and one of the bigger ones in the middle. I accidentally picked up this little one right here, so I'm just gonna bring it back down, and I'm gonna place the smaller hearts around, kind of filling up the spaces that the bigger hearts don't fill. But just have fun with it and place them wherever you think that they're gonna look good. I think it was about here that I realized that I didn't have enough of the little hearts that I wanted. I wanted to be able to really make sure there was no spaces and that other big one didn't fit, so I cut a few more of the smaller hearts and I just, like I said, filled the spaces that were left by the bigger hearts. Just making sure that I place my hearts in different directions, one to the right, one tilted to the left, one straight, just kind of all over the place. The goal is to look fun and whimsical and not really have everything just be so straight up and down. Now that everything is in place, do a once over, make sure that you like it, because next up is spray paint. I'm going in with Pink Peony, Rustoleum, and I'm just going to go across the middle of our cup. We want to make sure that we get a full coverage on that middle part, that we cannot see our pink vinyl anymore. However, we don't want to go too thick because we are going to be going in with another color. It is Vintage Blush from Rustoleum, and we're just going to start spray painting that bottom 2 inches of the cup. Let's also not forget the bottom of our cup, and we're going to go back to the top and spray paint about 2 inches of that as well. And we're just going to ombre those 2 colors together. You'll start to see as I go back in with the other color that the lines kind of start to blur, and the dust from the pink peony will start to go a little bit into the vintage blush, and that right there is how we get a perfect ombre. We go ahead and let this dry for a little bit, and now you can see how much better my lighting is on this side of my workspace. I'm gonna go ahead and start to take off our vinyl and expose that gorgeous glitter underneath. You can see that these two spray paints were the perfect color to complement this gorgeous glitter. I'm just going to make sure that we are being very, very careful with our weeding tool and making a hard dig into that vinyl, and that way we do not scratch our paint. It is so important to not scratch the paint because it is ombre. It's not going to be as easy to touch up. Here I was trying to decide whether I wanted to leave the insides with the spray paint or if I just wanted to pull the entire vinyl. I think it would look really cute either way. You could really get away with pulling just the vinyl on the outside and have a really cute look and just epoxy it as is. However, that wasn't really quite my vision, so I decided to stick with my gut, and I ended up just pulling all of the vinyl that was placed on the cup. One of my New Year's goals this year was to trust myself, trust my process, and follow through before making any harsh decisions, so that is what we're doing here today. Now we're going in again with some Fast Set from CCDIY. I'm using 20 mls, that's 10 mls of part A, 10 mls of part B, and we are just doing a full coverage coat of epoxy. The goal for this coat is to be nice and smooth and to get really good coverage on that bottom edge. And once again, torching to remove any bubbles that may have popped up. Now I'm going to go in with Quinn from Peachy Olive Glitters. Quinn is a really pretty chunky opal mix, and I'm just going to sprinkle it around the cup, and then I'm going to go ahead with a gloved hand and I am going to rub Quinn around the cup. This is going to help spread it out a little bit more, but it's also going to go ahead and put a coat of epoxy over top of that glitter. Then I just hit it with my torch and I come back once it's cured and I trim that top edge. Now I'm going to go ahead and sand that top edge with my 220 grit on a sanding block, and we're just going to give it a little bit of stainless steel exposure, not going down too far, and we are going to sand the entire cup. I'm going in with a very, very light-handed sand on that bottom edge, just being very careful not to go too hard so that we don't go through our paint and expose our glitter. And then we take some rubbing alcohol and wipe off all of that dust. Now I'm going back into our file in Silhouette Studio, and I'm going to take our X's and O's, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the offset panel, and I'm going to select internal offset, and I'm going to change the distance to 0.045, and I'm going to apply it. The reason we're doing an internal offset on this is because if we did the regular offset, the X and the heart would be touching, and I want to make those two different colors. So now I'm going to send this to cut twice on two different color vinyls. So now I'm starting with Cricut brand adhesive foil vinyl in rose gold and light pink. I went ahead and cut out the full file in each color because I wasn't exactly sure where I was going to put each color. I decided that I was going to put my offset for the heart parts in the pink, and I was going to do the X's in the rose gold. So what I went ahead and did was weed that vinyl out for the hearts, and I'm going to go ahead and put my transfer tape on top of the design. I'm making sure that I rub down really well because this is Cricut brand adhesive foil vinyl, and you know how that goes. Sometimes it's a little bit hard to weed, so I went ahead and laid it on its back, and I'm just kind of doing a reverse weed onto the transfer tape. Now I'm going to go ahead and line it up, and I'm going to place one at a time. I'm going to place it on the inside of the paint, because remember, this is an internal offset, not an external offset. Now I'm going in with the rose gold. I started accidentally weeding the wrong part. Then I remembered, oh wait, I'm doing the X's. So I took out that middle, leaving that little piece on the outside. Again, going in with my transfer tape and making sure that I rub down really good. I want to make sure that it is easy to come off of that backing. And again, flipping it on its back and reverse weeding. And then I will just peel off that little heart that we actually don't need. And same as before, I line it up on the inside of the paint because again, it is an internal offset. We have to remember that for the X's and O's parts. And one at a time, I get them laid down really well and I make sure I rub them down pretty good. Now for the hearts, I'm going to go ahead and take a look and decide where I want to start. I'm going to go in with my biggest heart first. I'm using my light pink and I am just weeding the entire heart. Then once it's on the transfer tape, I will peel out the center. I'm doing it this way because once it's a smaller piece, it is a little bit harder to pick up with the transfer tape for this particular vinyl. So now I'm going to go ahead and place it on the inside of the paint once again. Even though this isn't an internal offset, this is where our vinyl was laying when we went ahead and spray painted. So I'm just lining it up with where it was before we painted over it. Now I'm going back and forth between my rose gold and my light pink, and I'm going to kind of place them randomly. I'll do a couple big hearts in rose gold, but I'm not going to be using the two that are the closest to each other in rose gold. I'm going to try not to get rose gold right up against where the rose gold X's are. I'm just going to kind of put them a little bit randomly. You'll see that I put the light pink next to the rose gold over here, but then I went ahead and moved up a little bit further and put another light pink. And it just kind of random, but also kind of not having too many of the same color next to each other. I go around the entire tumbler like this, and I make sure that I don't miss any of the hearts. And I'm also making sure that I am correctly weeding the parts that I don't need. So I'm taking out those little lines in between where the hearts cross over each other. And please don't forget that this could look just as beautiful in all one solid color. So if you decided that you wanted to do the whole tumbler in just the rose gold vinyl, or if you wanted to do it in a completely different color, or if you wanted to do the X's and O's in one color and the hearts in one solid color, then that is completely fine too. Just go with your heart and what you think is going to look best, and as long as you follow through, it is going to come out absolutely gorgeous. I mean, come on, look at how pretty this looks. So next up, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and seal all that vinyl. We're going to go in with Quick Coat from Counterculture DIY, and we're just going to put a nice thick coat all over that. The reason why we're doing this is because foil adhesive vinyl is notorious for repelling epoxy, at least for me in my experience. So I'm going to make sure that I cover it really well, get in all those little pieces between the vinyl, and that way we're ready for epoxy. So after about 10-15 minutes, and once our quick coat is dried to the touch, we are going to go in with 20 mLs of CC DIY's artist resin. That is 10 mLs of part A, 10 mLs of part B, and we are just going to put a nice smooth final coat on our tumbler. For this coat, the goal is to get from top to bottom and to make sure that we're getting really good coverage around that bottom and top edge. If you feel as though you need to put a flood coat on this tumbler, if you feel like your epoxy isn't thick enough, you can do so after 4 hours. Now I'm just going in with my torch, and she is done. Look at how gorgeous she came out. I'm over here silently clapping my hands as I'm recording this voiceover. I love it so much, and I really hope you guys do too. Thank you so much for watching, you guys. If you have any questions or comments, drop them down below. Be sure to like and subscribe to my channel, and follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Cerise Boutique. Also, come hang out with us in my Facebook group for makers, Tumbler tutors, linked in the description below. See you guys next time.